Olivia Carter had always been in control. At 28, she was a young tech billionaire commanding a multi-million-dollar empire. Her days were packed with meetings, press releases, and networking events. Everything she touched seemed to turn to gold. But something was missing. It wasn't money or power. Olivia had those in abundance, but rather a sense of fulfillment, a genuine connection to the world around her. Despite her success, she couldn't escape the nagging feeling that her life was a bit too polished, too perfect. "Olivia, I've got a challenge for you," said Clara, her best friend and confidante. Clara was notorious for pushing Olivia's boundaries, often suggesting bold and ridiculous ideas that pushed Olivia out of her comfort zone. "A challenge?" Olivia raised an eyebrow. "I'm not sure I'm in the mood for another one of your ridiculous dares." Claire's laugh echoed through the phone. "No, this is different. I bet you can't marry someone ordinary." Olivia smirked, leaning back in her leather chair. "Ordinary? You mean someone without a billion-dollar startup and a private jet? What's the catch?" "The catch is simple. You have to find someone real. No tricks, no motives. Someone who isn't impressed by your wealth or your company. Just a regular person with no agenda." Olivia sat quietly for a moment, considering. Clara was right in one sense. Everything in her life had become a calculated move. What if, just for once, she could do something spontaneous, something out of character? It could be fun. "All right, you're on," Olivia said, a mischievous smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "But I picked the target." Ryan Bennett didn't want much. At 32, he was a barista in a small, local coffee shop. He had a job he loved, even if it didn't come with a hefty paycheck. He lived in a modest apartment, scraped by month to month, and spent his free time making sure his younger sister, Lily, had the opportunities he never had. Since their parents' tragic death, Ryan had been both a brother and a father to her. The responsibility weighed on him, but he bore it with a quiet resilience that impressed everyone who knew him. His life wasn't glamorous. It wasn't particularly exciting, but it was real, grounded in the everyday struggles of someone doing their best. Olivia first noticed Ryan on a rainy afternoon, her heels clicking sharply on the wet pavement as she entered his coffee shop. She was early for a meeting and needed a distraction. Ryan, who had been busy with a line of customers, gave her a quick, professional smile as he took her order. "Cappuccino. Extra foam," she said, her voice cutting through the bustle of the shop. Ryan nodded and set to work, his movements quick and efficient. Olivia found herself watching him, impressed by the ease with which he worked. He wasn't one of those tired, unengaged baristas just going through the motions. There was something different about him, something sincere. As she sat with her drink, Olivia realized something else. Ryan had an honesty about him that was rare in her world. He didn't recognize her, didn't try to impress her, and certainly didn't seem fazed by her presence. And for some reason, that intrigued her. Olivia started coming to the cafe more frequently, under the guise of wanting a break from her fast-paced life. Each time she'd sit in the corner, nursing a cappuccino while she watched Ryan interact with his customers. She found herself admiring his easygoing nature, how he seemed to have a quiet control over his life, despite the difficulties he faced. One afternoon, as she waited for her drink, she finally spoke up. "How do you manage it all?" Ryan looked at her with a slight frown, the question unexpected. "Manage what?" he asked, pouring milk into the espresso with practiced ease. "The balancing act. Running a coffee shop, raising your sister, how do you keep it all together?" His expression softened. "You just do. You don't really think about it, you just keep going." For her. Olivia's eyes flickered with curiosity. She had heard bits and pieces of Ryan's story, but it wasn't until this moment that the weight of it truly hit her. He was a man living in a world of responsibility, doing everything he could to make sure his sister had a better future. There was a purity to his sacrifice that Olivia hadn't encountered before. It made her reflect on her own life, a life dominated by the pursuit of power and control, with little room for genuine connection. Ryan handed her the cappuccino with a slight smile. "Here you go. I hope the extra foam makes up for the wait." "Thanks," she said, feeling an unexpected warmth in his presence. As she left the cafe that day, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Ryan than she had first imagined. Over the next few weeks, Olivia's visits to the coffee shop became more frequent. She found herself seeking out the comforting routine of the cafe, enjoying Ryan's quiet company. There was something in the simplicity of their interactions, no pretense, no expectations. Just two people sharing space and, for once, having a genuine conversation. But as the days passed, the weight of her bet started to gnaw at her. She had come here for a challenge, to prove she could marry someone outside her world, someone ordinary. But the deeper she got to know Ryan, the more complicated it became. He wasn't just a pawn in a game. He was real, and that scared her. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara called. "So, how's your target doing?" she asked, her voice laced with playful curiosity. Olivia's stomach tightened. "It's not like that. I'm not just doing this to win a bet." Clara was quiet for a long moment. "Are you telling me you're falling for him?" Olivia didn't know how to answer. Was she? It was impossible. She had come here to prove a point, not to lose herself in someone else's world. But she could feel the walls she had built around her beginning to crumble. The thought of walking away from Ryan, of losing whatever this connection was, felt like losing a part of herself. Olivia had never been one for second-guessing herself. But recently doubts had crept into her thoughts, especially when it came to Ryan. She couldn't ignore how much time she had been spending with him, how his presence made her feel more alive than the buzz of any business deal or gala event ever had. She had come to appreciate the simplicity of his life, the way he made her laugh with his dry sense of humor, the way he cared for his sister with quiet dedication. But just when she started to believe that maybe this wasn't just a bet, her carefully constructed world came crashing down. It was the afternoon of a fundraiser event she'd been planning for weeks, the kind of high-profile affair that attracted the city's elite. Olivia had skipped out early, wanting to spend some time with Ryan at the cafe before heading back to work. She hadn't expected to hear what she did. As she walked in, she overheard Clara talking to a group of friends near the counter, her voice cutting through the chatter. "I can't believe she's actually doing it. Olivia's dating a barista just to win a bet. It's ridiculous. But she'll never admit it." Olivia froze in the doorway, the words like a punch to the gut. Betrayal. It was like Clara had thrown her off the edge of a cliff and left her to fall. Ryan had heard, too. His face turned pale as he glanced at Olivia, who stood there, shocked, trying to process the reality of the situation. She had never imagined Clara would be the one to reveal the truth, to expose Olivia's deepest secret. Ryan stood up from behind the counter, his eyes hardening. "So that's it then? It was a game for you?" "Ryan, no," Olivia said, her voice shaking, but he was already backing away, the hurt in his eyes too much for her to ignore. "You don't get to come in here week after week, pretending to be something you're not," he said, his voice cold, each word cutting like a knife. "I'm not a charity case, Olivia. I'm not some project you can just check off your list. I thought you were different." "Please listen to me." Olivia stepped forward, but Ryan was already walking out from behind the counter, shaking his head. "I'm done," he said quietly, before turning on his heel and leaving. Olivia stood there in the silence, her heart pounding in her chest. The cafe felt colder than it ever had before. The air between her and Ryan felt irreparably fractured, as though the distance between their worlds had just become impossible to cross. For the next few days, Olivia didn't know what to do. She threw herself back into work, trying to drown out the sting of Ryan's rejection. She attended meetings, made deals, but everything felt empty. The sharp lines of her world, once so clear and defined, now felt foreign and hollow. Her thoughts were consumed by him. By Ryan, by his pain, by the fact that she had destroyed whatever fragile trust they built. She didn't care about the bet anymore. What had started as a simple dare had evolved into something real, something she had no idea how to fix. Clara, sensing her friend's shift, called her one evening. "Olivia, I know you're upset, but you have to face facts. It's over. You can't just undo what you did." Olivia sighed heavily into the phone. "I know. I thought I was doing it for the challenge. But I was wrong. I've heard him, and I have no idea how to make it right." There was a pause before Clara spoke again, her tone softer. "You've changed, Liv. You've learned something. And maybe that's the first step toward fixing this. You have to show him you're serious. But it won't be easy." Olivia set down her phone and thought about it. Clara was right. It wasn't enough to just apologize. She had to prove that she wasn't the person she used to be, the person who saw relationships as transactions. Over the next few weeks, Olivia worked tirelessly to rebuild her life and make things right with Ryan. She sold a portion of her company to fund a series of programs aimed at supporting families who faced the same challenges that Ryan did. The programs would provide financial aid for young caregivers, create resources for families struggling to balance work and responsibility, and offer mentorship opportunities for those in need. She didn't tell anyone what she was doing. She didn't want any accolades, didn't want anyone to see this as a publicity stunt. It wasn't about her company. It was about proving to Ryan and to herself that she could change, that she could live a life of purpose beyond her own ambitions. After weeks of preparation, Olivia returned to the coffee shop, hoping Ryan would be there. Her heart raced in her chest, the familiar warmth of the cafe now laced with nerves. Ryan was behind the counter, just like before, though he looked more tired than she remembered. When he saw her, his eyes narrowed, but he didn't turn away. "Ryan, please," Olivia said, walking up to the counter, her voice quiet but resolute. "I've made changes, real changes. I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. I need you to see that I'm trying." Ryan looked at her, his expression unreadable. "You've made changes?" "I've funded a program to help young caregivers. It's my way of giving back. I know it's not enough, but it's a start. Please let me show you that I'm not the person I was before. I've learned so much from you." Ryan hesitated. His eyes softened just a fraction, but he didn't speak. "I'm not perfect," Olivia added. "I never was, but I want to be better. For you, for Lily, for both of you." Ryan studied her for a long moment, and Olivia's heart thudded in her chest. Finally, he spoke. "You're not perfect, but you're trying, and that counts for something." Weeks passed, and Olivia continued to prove her sincerity. She showed up regularly at the cafe, never pushing Ryan, but always present. Slowly, he began to let his guard down. They really talked about their hopes, their dreams, and their fears. One afternoon, as they sat together in the cafe, Ryan turned to her with a tentative smile. "You've come a long way, Olivia. I never thought I'd say this, but I think I can trust you again." A weight lifted off Olivia's shoulders, but she knew it wasn't over. Trust had to be rebuilt, piece by piece, and this was just the beginning. Months later, as Lily graduated high school, Olivia found herself standing before Ryan in front of their closest friends and family. This time, she wasn't there to prove anything. She was there because she had come to realize that the simple life, the genuine love was what she wanted. "Ryan," she said, her voice steady, "I've spent so long trying to build something, but I finally realized what truly matters. It's you, it's us, and I'm asking for the chance to make this real. Will you marry me?" Ryan's eyes welled up with tears as he took her hand. "Yes," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes." And so, Olivia and Ryan began their life together, not as two people from different worlds, but as two souls who had found each other in the most unexpected of places. They launched a nonprofit together, focusing on helping families in need, using both their strengths to make the world a better place. For Olivia, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where love, not ambition, was the guiding force. So if you love this story, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and comment below. Your interaction helps us grow.